But my first guest on the program today is comedian, storyteller and writer Phil Spencer. Originally from the UK, now in Sydney, he's Sydney-based, Phil is bringing to the Melbourne Fringe Festival Hooting and Howling, a true story of soul-searching, wisecracking and ghost hunting, which certainly interests me. I heard the program before mine with Amanda talking about It today, the horror movie. It's fantastic if you love horror, and I love horror, and Phil Spencer's on the line. Hello, Phil.
Howdy.
Have you seen It?
Look, I'm far too terrified to watch anything by Stephen King anymore.
Really?
Yeah. Anything with a clown. Too much for me.
A lot of my friends have said they couldn't stand seeing The Clown, but, look, I love horror movies, and it's a great movie.
Oh, great. Well, look, I'll see. Maybe I'll go to a matinee. Maybe that'll be less terrifying.
Well, wait till the DVD comes out.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
You can always put it on pause, make a cup of tea, have a drink and come back to it, you see.
Yeah.
Tell me about your life, Phil. You came from the UK. Were you a performer over there as well?
Yeah, I'm originally from the UK. I spent a lot of years living in London and Glasgow, making kind of comedy, theatre, storytelling stuff, and then, in much the cliched story, accidentally fell in love with an Australian and moved to Sydney, and now I don't think I'm allowed to move back to the UK, so I'm stuck here.
That was my next question to you. How come you moved out here, but you fell in love?
Yes, and I'm right now looking through the patio window at my wife and my 14-month-old who has got a lot of spaghetti all over her face. So I don't think there's no going back from that. Once you've got spaghetti on a 14-month-old...
None at all, Phil. And there's a storyline for you with that, isn't there?
Yeah, well, yeah, she's certainly going to feature in many a storytelling show to come, I'm sure.
Yeah, I bet they do. My mother-in-law used to feature in mine, but she's passed on there, so I'm quite safe these days. But,
yeah, I'll change the names, it'll be all right.
Change the names, yes, exactly right. So what was your training? Did you go to uni, or how did you get involved in all this?
Yeah, so I did a kind of theatre studies degree like everybody. I was going to be the next sort of Hugo Weaving. And then I moved to Sydney and figured out quite quickly that there were lots of very talented actors who had this covered. So for the last kind of 5, 6, 7 years, I've been doing a story club show, a story club event in Sydney. I do Story Club, which is we turn into a podcast. It's sort of true, short, mostly funny stories from your life. And over the last few years, I've made several sort of autobiographical shows because I'm pretty unadventurous when it comes to coming up with material. And I thought, you know what? There's enough weird stuff that's happened to me in my life that I think people might be interested in. So, yeah, that's how I came to sort of making theatre. And then I work at the Griffin Theatre Company in Sydney. I hang out there and read plays and just generally get amongst it. But I haven't done a lot in Melbourne, so I'm really excited to be here for next week to do the show at the Butterfly Club. Phil,
tell me about some of those weird things that you're drawing on in your experiences.
Well, the show that I'm going to be doing next week is called Hooting and Howling. Mm-hmm. And so a couple of years ago, I was commissioned by Cockatoo Island, which is this pretty fantastic place in the middle of Sydney Harbour. And it's a historic site that was once sort of, originally a sort of a fishing spot for Aboriginals. And then in the kind of new history of Australia, it had been a prison and a girls' reformatory and a military base. And it's this sort of weird sort of palimpsest of an island where all these different layers of Australian life over the last 200 years have sort of been crushed into it and then left, and now only people who are a bit arty go there.
Right.
So I got asked to kind of hang out and write some ghost stories, and it's fair to say I'm a fairly cynical character. I was not necessarily expecting to come across anything particularly paranormal. And then I turned up and I had to do a ghost tour with some paranormal enthusiasts. So they were these fairly legitimate people who wore kind of military outfits and had lots of gadgets. And I spent a night with them really trying to connect with the afterlife.
How'd you cope with that?
I had to suppress a lot of giggles, and I kept my notebook close at hand. But I tell you what, if you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning in the middle of Sydney Harbour with some of these old buildings around you, some pretty weird stuff did happen.
Really? So, go on, tell me.
Well, I can't give too much away because you've got to come see the show, but I will just say that I very much went on this adventure, that I said yes to this with a sense of like, oh, this will be funny, I'll get some good stories out of it. But yeah, I survived the night, I suppose that's the important thing. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know anymore. All I know is that I didn't believe in ghosts, and now I have no idea. I'm not entirely sure.
That was my question. I was going to say, well, have you been converted? Do you now believe in ghosts?
I now no longer mock people who believe in ghosts. That's as far as I'll go.
All right. We've got to come and see your show.
Yeah, so we sort of made a show, and then Julia Johnson, who's a fabulous musician, has written a handful of songs that kind of weave in and out of the show. And so if you like sort of storytelling and kind of, I've done the Moth and all those sorts of like talky things, plus some live music, and you fancy a bit of a spooky tale at 7 o'clock, it won't be as scary as it is, I promise you that.
Well, you'll have to come down to Melbourne more regularly, I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll see how this goes. If I make my fortune, I'll definitely come back.
Well, Melbourne is known as being the arts capital. I'm surprised you don't live here already, you see. Can we get you to come down here with your wife and your 14-month-old?
Yeah, look, if you've got a spare room, we'll come.
Oh, look, I've got a couple of spare rooms. That's fine. That's fine. You're in. Done. Okay. Sealed and dusted. Now, you're at the Butterfly Club. It's the 20th through to the 25th, so you're there for 5 nights. Hooting and Howling. It's 7 p.m. on those nights, $32 and 28 concession. The Butterfly Club here in Melbourne. Phil, if I gave you 3 wishes, what would they be for?
What would they be for? That at least 40 people turn up to my first show on Wednesday.
Yeah.
That world peace, obviously, second. And thirdly, that I had remembered to bring my winter coat with me.
You're going to need it, I think.
Which I have not.
It's been very cold here. We've got 13 today and it's pouring with rain.
Yeah, I know. I feel terrifyingly at home. So, yeah.
Well, you've had the opposite in Sydney, haven't you? You've had bushfires up there.
Yeah, it's been a mental week in Sydney, absolutely, yeah.
And the winds today, closing down the airport and runways and so on, hasn't been good at all. Phil, I wish you well and you come down to Melbourne. You're bringing your wife with you, by the way?
Well, she directed the show, so she has to come and shout at everybody. So
Lovely.
Lovely.
Yeah, and we can meet your little bub at the same time.
Yeah, look, for the price of the ticket, you get to high-five a very cute toddler. Who should be in bed but isn't, yeah.
Sounds great to me, Phil. We'll see you on the night, mate, the 20th to the 25th at the Butterfly Club. Take care.
Okay, thanks, mate.
Okay, bye-bye to you.